everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here, this time reviewing on issue 2 of Masters of the Universe Revelation. Now, as you know, the series is meant to be based with Kevin Smith's Netflix series that does have a divided fan base, so after doing issue 1, I managed to find issue 2 in full in the bargain bin at my local comic book store, and the cover has He-Man and Skeletor duking it out with their sword and Havoc staff. And it mainly starts off with Skeletor saying, "The secret of Grayskull, and that withstands Zolax, were nearly mine. The re-scouting of the Psyche connection now, Evelyn." And we point out that Evelyn points out that the Zolax connection's been severed, and it would be hard to kind of reconnect in that. And we see how Skeletor's evil warriors, like Webstore, Trapjaw, Beastman, and everyone else, just looking on. And we see how Skeletor says, "Out, all of you! Out!" And we kind of see how Skeletor points out that what he wanted was more competent warriors and for something to get done. And even Skeletor pointing out everything that's been leading up to the events from what they saw from the Orlax. And of course, we see how Skeletor remembers back from his youth, where back in his realm, he was a slave to a horde of other creatures until he finally had enough and started a revolt. Now, this is pretty much based on Skeletor's original origin, where it was in the Mattel series at the early run that Skeletor was from another dimension. I know later on they do kind of make him the brother of Randall and being part of a race called the Gar. And we see how Skeletor finally found love, even eventually becoming a parent and a hero to the people, until one day Skeletor's home is invaded by the slavers. And we kind of see how Skeletor sees to his shock and horror that his wife and child pretty much gets murdered, and leaving Skeletor distraught, with one of them saying, "Look at the mess you made, clean it up, slave." And we see how Skeletor's now distraught and knowing they needed another hero. So of course, we see how the Horde show up, with Hordak leading Montana, Leek, as well as Grizzlo and that, saying, "The great hero of Apollos, do I have a deal for you?" And points about other dimensions and that, and even is willing to work with him. So of course, we kind of see how Skeletor ends up killing one of the sort of overseers, and eventually creating the Havoc Staff, and him and Hordak now working together, with him becoming the apprentice of Hordak. So of course, they managed to sort of take back the planet, but Skeletor learning that Hordak's plan to make it part of the many worlds for the Horde. And of course, we see how over time Skeletor grew patient, as Hordak promised Skeletor to bring back his family, but he learns that he can only bring back one person. So he does the logical thing, bringing back his daughter, and we kind of see how Hordak tells Skeletor that his daughter will be raised on the planet, but they have to find other worlds. So over time, they start conquering the other worlds, only for Skeletor to realise that Hordak isn't going to keep up his end of the bargain, so decides to kind of slowly take over the planet, Eternia, and sticking out on his own. And of course, we kind of see how Evelyn says, "That's quite a story. I don't believe a word of it." "I have ever lied to you? Strange. I think you really believe that, whether it's true or not. Why did you tell me that? I know what you think, but what you all think, that I'm just a mad despot, running in circles, chasing madness obsessions." And we kind of see how Skeletor is reminded of his wife, and of course tells Evelyn to go, and even look at his deceased wife's medallion, remembering the life he once had. So it turns out Evelyn actually still has a connection to the Orlacs, wanting to know more about the secrets of Eternia. And yeah, this is the story. I think issue 2 is kind of okay, but it just kind of feels like, yeah, Skeletor's origin just never really made much sense here. Because, one, if this was to be a continuation from the 80s cartoon, it was sort of confirmed in the model sheets that Skeletor's homerealm was inferior, and it was even mentioned by Skeletor in one of the episodes. Also, yeah, I kind of prefer the origin of Skeletor once being a race of the Gar, and him being the brother of Randall. Now, when I did work on my He-Man reboot, I actually had the Gar be based on Celtic warriors. I even had Trapjaw reimagined as being Skeletor's uncle, and Scareglow being Skeletor's grandfather, and having Skeletor sort of eventually learning about his origins and what happened to his people. But yeah, this issue definitely deserves thumbs in the middle. It's an alright origin, and again, I can see where Kevin Smith wanted to do something fresher and different, but really, this origin just feels a little too generic and a little cliche. And I think Skeletor's newer origin always did better. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.